The first time I created a digital course, I made $267. 15 years later, my business has generated over $100 million in revenue with a very healthy profit margin. I wake up in the morning and I think about that woman or that man in a cubicle doing work that they no longer love, knowing they're made for something different. I'm gonna give away some of the secrets right now.
Whether you're a coach, creator, or somebody with valuable knowledge and skills, and maybe you want to generate a little side income, or maybe you want to replace your full-time job, I got great news, because today we're going to be talking to the digital course queen herself, Amy Porterfield, and we're going to be talking about how to leverage your skills and knowledge and turn it into a very profitable business. So with that, Amy Porterfield, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Stewie. I'm so excited to be here.
So today we're talking about how to take the stuff that you already know how to do and make money with it. And this is kind of foreign to a lot of people, realizing like, oh my gosh, I can actually like generate income with what it is that I know. But I know this is foreign because oftentimes people closest to us, when we share about this, they're like, well, doesn't everybody know this stuff? Like, why would somebody pay for it? But it's true. You could build a bona fide business around with your skills and knowledge and teaching others the things you know. Is that right?
Absolutely, you can. And here's the thing. Most people say, oh, I don't know if I'd have enough knowledge for a digital course. I don't know if I'd have enough to put in there, or do I have enough experience or years of expertise? And the greatest thing ever is I teach all my students this. All you need is a 10% edge, which means you need to be 10% ahead of those that you are going to serve. So that doesn't mean you need years and years more experience. You just need to have gotten results for yourself or for somebody else, a client, a customer, a family member. You've gotten results, and now you're willing to show exactly how you've gotten the results. As long as you're just 10 steps ahead, you, my friend, have a digital course.
Now, speaking of results, Amy, I saw you mentioned a number the other day, and I was like, dang, like that is a pretty impressive number. So when we talk about results, would you be open to sharing like how much has your business made with digital courses over the years?
Yes. So I've been in business for 15 years. And I'd like to say that the first time I created a digital course, I made $267. I've told the story a million times, but I always bring it up to say that's where I started. No idea what I was doing. I didn't know people that could teach me how to do it. So I pieced it together. I made $267 when I thought I'd make $100,000 because that's what everyone else looked like they were making online. They weren't, probably, but I cried for a week and then dusted myself off and kept going. And thank God I did, because 15 years later, my business has generated over $100 million in revenue with a very healthy profit margin, because when you have digital courses, you have very low overhead. And so over the last 15 years, that is what we've generated. And the majority of that is from my own digital courses.
It is such an impressive number. And I do want to emphasize that for everybody watching, because, you know, when we're talking about digital courses, you mentioned it is tremendously profitable, because unlike a brick and mortar business or a business selling services or has physical goods, as an example, like there's hard costs. Like a friend of mine, he runs a restaurant and he's happy, like tickled pink, if he's got 4% margins. And like when the price of tomatoes spiked, his margins got squeezed. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And like in the digital course world, those profit margins are dramatically different. And that's why this is so fun and exciting.
I want to be very specific about that. If people are like, well, what do you mean profit margins? What do they look like? So I've seen anywhere from about a 30%, which is a healthy profit margin, minus 40. Some of my students tell me 55, 60, 65% profit margin. That blows my mind. And lots of them work with very small teams. They don't want huge teams and a huge enterprise behind it. Small teams, lean, and their profit margin is incredible because of it.
Okay, I'm excited to unpack all of this today. I want to rewind, because you mentioned that first course that you sold for $267. I want to talk about, like, you know, where did the idea for that course come from? How did you get into courses? Where did this all begin for you?
Okay, gosh, I haven't been asked this question in a long time. I love it, Stu. So, what happened was way back in the day, I used to work for Tony Robbins, and that's where I started to learn online marketing and what this looked like. And a lot of the people that Tony was doing business with were also selling digital courses. And what I realized from their experience is they had a lot of time on their hands. They had a lot of freedom. They were calling the shots, working when they wanted, where they wanted, how they wanted, and they were creating things from their own heart and from their mind that literally they got to create from scratch. I had never had that experience. I have been in 9 to 5 since the day I got out of college. And so around the time I was around 30 years old, and I thought, I don't know what that is, but I've got to figure that out. So I kind of got the digital course bug by watching a bunch of other people do it and thinking, I want freedom like they have it. So I started to explore it. Now, my first course where I only made $267, the reason I didn't do well with that first course is I created a course where I didn't have the 10% edge. I had a little desperate energy, like, I got to make this online thing work. I just quit my job. I've got to figure this out. So I rushed without even thinking how to come up with a digital course idea, which is now I teach my students that from day one because that's where I messed up. One of the things that I didn't take into account is, have I gotten results in this area? I taught new authors how to launch their book with social media. I had never launched a book in my life. I just knew social media well. So I thought, I'll put this together. This will work. I had no confidence, which came out in when I taught it. So that was my first big mistake. And that's why I teach all my students from day one what that looks like. I got to tell you a quick story of one of my students who she didn't do the same mistake. So her name is Kelly. And in 2017, she left her job like I left my corporate job. She was a lawyer. And she just wanted to get out of it and she was burned out. But while she was a lawyer, she created her own time management system. It was a little quirky, by the way, but it was her own thing for herself as a lawyer, how to manage her time, specifically as a lawyer. So she left her job, but before she did, she started to teach it to a few people and they loved it. So she knew she was onto something. She got results for herself, a few one-to-one clients, and she left that job to go full-time teaching her own time management system. She generated over $200,000 when she left her job because she had something where she had gotten results. Very different from my experience, but luckily we both figured it out.
Well, I love it because what I hear you saying is that it always starts with the idea. The idea is the most important piece. But I often think that people can dismiss the experience and skills that they've acquired. Like, for example, my wife, also Amy, my Amy number one.
I'm always Amy number 2, everyone, just for the record. But it's okay because I love Amy number 1.
But she has done phenomenally well with our luxury Airbnb. And she gets asked questions all the time. Like, how are you able to charge triple the average nightly rate for your area? How do you get like 5-star reviews? How do you get those repeat customers coming back? And she just kind of, in her mind, it's just kind of like, well, doesn't everybody know this? And I was saying to her, like, no, not everybody knows this. And so I think many times it's hard to identify because sometimes we're so close to the skills we've acquired. How do you and your students identify a good idea for a course?
Okay, I'm going to give away some of the secrets right now so people can start to think about this. When I start to talk to my students about creating a digital course, we go through the digital course sweet spot. There's 4 different quadrants, and this is how we start the initial idea. And then I want to talk about how AI can help this as well. But this is how we start the idea. Quadrant number 1, where have you gotten results for yourself or somebody else? What's your 10% edge? So there's probably 5 different areas where you've gotten results. Like Amy could teach the Airbnb, but she could also teach how to start a charity and what that looks like. She could also teach how to get your kids fully engaged and getting excited about everything they do because your kids are like, oh my gosh. So there's so many things Amy could teach, but where does she really have that expertise? So she narrows it down to 2 or 3 places. From there, we go into the second quadrant, what is the challenge you're solving? It could be a desire that you're meeting, but usually the bread and butter there is the challenge that you're solving for someone, and make sure it's aligned with what you know in your skill set. So we're going to make sure those 2 are aligned. The third quadrant is, where are people spending money? You do not need to be first to market. And if you look around and you think, well, there's like 10 people teaching how to have successful Airbnbs. I actually have a student who quit her job as a pharmacist to go full in with their luxury Airbnb digital course because it was doing that well. So Rachel is my student who's done it. Amy might look and think it's already been done before. That's a ding, ding, ding moment. I love when it's already been done before. She's proving it's working. You only need a tiny slice of the internet to pay attention to you to be insanely profitable. It's okay if other people are doing what you want. It's actually a good thing. If they're spending money in that area, that is a very great validation. Also, are there books about it, podcasts about it? Do people pay for coaching about it? Those are good signs as well. And finally, the fourth quadrant is what lights you up. Let's not create a course on a topic you are sick of talking about or you don't like. One time I created an entire digital course on how to do Facebook advertising at a time in my business where I was so sick of teaching Facebook advertising. That digital course never saw the light of day, and I created the whole thing. We got to make sure that it fuels you because you're going to sleep, breathe, and eat this for a while because you're going to talk about it a lot. So those are the four quadrants that make up your digital course sweet spot. That's where we start. And I bet a few ideas will come of that. Now, can we talk about AI and how that could help?
Well, I definitely want to go there because there's one thing that I want to just touch on real quick before we dive into the AI side of things, because I actually have some concerns about AI in courses. So I'm gonna be straight up front with that. But when it comes to the idea, what I hear you saying is like, hey, if there are other people in the market, that's actually a really good thing. That's a really good, healthy sign. And the other thing that you said that I think is really important is like, we only need a tiny slice of the internet. Like online, we are not limited to our geographic location. Like we're serving people worldwide. And that is a way, way bigger audience. And that's what makes this so fun and exciting. So that's a good thing when you have competitors in the market.
It's so true. You know, I learned course math from your membership math. And I know this is very simple terms because I'm really bad at doing course live on anything. But if you think about it, I heard that there's over 7 billion people in this world. So if that is true, and you sell a digital course for $1,000 and only 20 people out of 7 billion people in this world, 20 people buy it, you just made $20,000. That is life-changing money. Only 20 people have to say, I want to learn from you. And if you're building your business and putting out content and doing your podcast and YouTube and social, you will find 20 people. And I like to put it in that perspective because that's when you start to realize, wait a second, this is very doable.
Okay, I love this, Amy, but I am going to play devil's advocate because with the influx of all the AI tools, I know that there is a thought that might be percolating people's brains, which is, okay, Amy, but why would people pay me for a digital course when they could maybe just go to ChatGPT and put in a few prompts and boom, get the answers to whatever it is that they're looking to solve? Like, why a course and not chat GPT? Like how is AI is it gonna help us or is it gonna harm us?
Okay, I love this question. I'm going to take this back. I'll come back to the chat GPT, but I used to get this question. I actually still get this question about, Amy, why would anyone buy a digital course from me if I could Google or go on YouTube and type in, okay, so one of my students, her course is how to create sourdough bread, how to make sourdough bread, how to get the starter going, all of that. If you were to Google how to make sourdough bread, especially after COVID, which for some reason sourdough became a big thing, thousands and thousands of hits. So why did Sarah, we call her Sarah Sourdough, how was she able to make over $50,000 selling her course on sourdough bread? So the same question could be, why would someone pay Sarah Sourdough when we could type into GPT, give me the exact recipe for a starter, exactly how to make the best sourdough bread, and what are variations of different recipes like that? And the answer is, when people want to truly learn how to do something, they want to learn from the expert that they are attracted to, that they've built a relationship with. They want to see it done. They want to get into community. They want to pitch and catch, ask questions with the creator of that course. There's a human aspect that YouTube will never fulfill, and ChatGPT absolutely will not. There's nuances. There's different things that you will learn from a creator in a video, slide deck, audio, all of that you will never learn from ChatGPT. It's a whole different experience. And I can promise you that people are looking for connection. And there are certain people they gravitate toward. And if that's you, they're going to be buying your course. They're not going to be trying to put it together on ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think people completely forget the importance of that human element. Like,
Oh,
perfect example, my son Sam, he's trying to learn how to do a back handspring right now. And we watched a ton of YouTube videos, and sure, they walk you through the whole thing, and I'm trying to, like, spot him and coach him through it. But, like, I haven't done gymnastics for many, many years. And then he got some coaching, and the progress that he made in such a short period of time was incredible. Like, we had been practicing for days and hours. He goes there for 45 minutes and he's doing it by himself. That's the difference, right? Like, that human element, when, as you were saying, you're pitching and catching and you're getting the feedback and you're getting your questions answered and you're making those little adjustments. It's in those little adjustments that can make the massive difference in the progress. You can't get that feedback when you are watching a YouTube video or you're, looking at a recipe, so to speak, from ChatGPT.
it's so true. You will be learning in a silo and your growth will be stunted. When I teach digital courses, there's different features and benefits I encourage my students to add, depending on what their bandwidth is. Maybe it's a private group. Maybe it's a Voxer opportunity or Slack, or what I do is I do live Q&As with my students for 11 weeks when they join my course. They see me show up live. So those interactions, that's what makes you unique and special, and why people would want to spend the money with you. So I teach a lot of those little nuances that put you apart from any other option that they have.
Okay, this is great. I think you've squashed that for me, but I do want to ask you, how can we then leverage AI?
Yeah.
Because
I was hoping you'd ask.
it is an everyday tool, and there are some benefits to it, especially when it comes to using it to create a course. Am I right?
Absolutely. I think you should be careful if someone said, you can create your whole course in 30 minutes using ChatGPT. You will get the most watered down, ununique course you will ever have, and it will not survive in the marketplace. So just be really careful of that. But I absolutely embrace ChatGPT and AI. We created an AI tool to help people come up with more ideas for their digital course. Let's say that you wanted to train one of my students. She trains doodles. And so you and I
wait,
both,
the dog?
yeah, she's a doodle pro. Yes. And made $23,000 with her course with Zoomies to Zen for doodles. So
Speaking
I think
of doodles, hello, Scout.
Okay, yes, did he come over? Scouty, where is he? Is he behind me? Oh, hi. He's like, are you talking about me? He's very distinguished. He knows. But yeah, Zoomies to Zen. I love that. So let's say she's like, I train doodles, but I'm not exactly sure of all the different topics I can create a course. So we created an AI tool, but you could do this in ChatGPT as well if you get the right prompts. What are some modules, lessons, overall ideas for courses if I am a doodle expert? The amount of ideas that will come out of this will blow your mind. And so from there, you start putting together your ideas. Then you can put more ideas into it and say, okay, show me what a module would look like if I wanted to teach everything about what to do when your doodle hears someone knock at the door and you don't want them jumping on people. ChatGPT will give you all the ideas, but we can't forget you are the expert. You've been in the room with the doodles. You know how to work with the parents of the doodles. You know the mistakes that have been made along the way. There is no human touch with ChatGPT like that. So you use it as your course assistant. It is never the master. You are. And if you're smart enough to say, I'm going to let this be my assistant to get me started, you're well on your way. Just never, ever fall into the trap that it is your end all be all. You will have a very hard time standing out in the digital landscape.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's talk about the different types of courses, because I know that there are big courses, little courses, and courses all in between. So can we talk about the different types?
Yes. Okay. So there are 3 different types, but I'm going to add a caveat to give you a 4th one at the end. But there are 3 different types that I've always taught. And this year I started to teach 1 extra. So the first one is a starter course. And a starter course is something that maybe people can get through in the weekend. Maybe it's 3 different modules. Usually the way I teach courses is you have modules and then you have lessons under the modules. So you might have 3 modules, 3 big ideas, and then a few videos under each of those modules. So a starter course is helping people just get started, getting their feet wet. So it might be Facebook Ads 101. Just everything you need to know to get started, but you're not going to fully flesh out everything they need to know to have the biggest Facebook ad plan they've ever seen. So just to get started. Usually those are priced anywhere between $100 and $300.
Can I give you an example of one of those actually?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever told you about this, but
oh, wait, you're going to give me an example? Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So, the idea got triggered because of Scout coming into the room. But so Carly on our team here, she, as a side hustle, she is a dog sitter. Like when people go on vacation, she takes care of their dog, all that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, she's got like a fun little side business doing that. But she started to get a whole bunch of questions from people, how are you doing this? And so she set up a course, and it's a starter course, like how to start your own dog sitting business. And she, exactly as you mapped it out, I think she's got like 3 modules, a bunch of lessons in there about like what to do, what to charge, how to take care of them, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, she took like her experience of like dog sitting, translated it into a course, and now she's earning income on both the service side and the digital course side. It's pretty awesome, but it's a starter course for sure.
She is my dream. That is such a great way to use a digital course. She took her expertise of what she knew personally and start paying attention when people ask you questions. How are you doing that? There's likely some course in there when you start to get all those questions. Brilliant. I love that idea. You made my job easier by giving a great example.
Okay, so number 1 is the starter course.
Yes. The second kind of course is a spotlight course. And this is really unique. I don't see a lot of people talking about this. So a spotlight course is where you take one area of your expertise and you go deep. One of my favorite stories to kind of paint the picture of this is Rob Green was my student during COVID, and he was a photographer. He literally went out and took pictures of a lot of college students, a lot of college activities. And COVID hit, and he had nowhere to go. And so he needed money, and he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a course all about how flash photography can look like natural light. Very specific. He didn't teach everything he knew about photography. One very specific thing. He had 100 people on his email list and made $12,000 his first launch.
Wait a minute. Wait, we got to pause there for a second. 100 people on his email list, and yet he pulled in $12,000 from this super specific course.
Exactly. And I cannot remember exactly how much it cost, but I can promise you this. It wasn't tons of students who bought it. It's not like he had major access to a lot of other people outside of his email list. It was just a really good course where he had built a relationship with his audience and he knew what they wanted. So he used social. He didn't have a big social following, and his email list, $12,000.
Wow. So, it's pretty crazy too, because I think the other side of courses, we touched on this in the beginning, but you forget how quickly those course sales start stacking up, right? Like we're not talking about hundreds of sales here. We're talking about a handful of sales, but that's significant extra income coming in.
Especially when you've never done this before. That was so new to him. And now he has an extra stream of revenue. Here's the beautiful thing about digital courses. I teach my students to create one course and then launch it over and over again. I've been launching the same exact course since 2019. Sure, I make it better. I always improve it, but it's the same course since 2019. Every single year, it's gotten better and better. And it's because, one, I get better and better at launching, at creating, at teaching, but also I grow my audience with each launch. And so I have more people to sell to. One course, multiple launches, and you can do evergreen or live. But the point is, let's stop reinventing the wheel just to create something new in our business. That's what slows you down, and it takes money away from you as well.
That's a good point, because Rob made his first $12,000, but it doesn't mean that that's the only amount he's ever going to make. I mean, that was his first launch. Yes. Now he can rinse and repeat that same launch multiple times every year and continue to bring in a lot more than $12,000.
He absolutely did, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay, so we got starter course, spotlight course. What's the third one?
A spotlight usually is between $250 to $500. That's typically what you're going to charge.
Now, okay, this is interesting though. Sorry to cut you off here, Amy, but so you're charging more than the starter course.
Yeah.
And how in depth is the spotlight course?
It depends how in depth you need it. It might actually be less modules and videos than your starter course. I love that you brought this up.
I'm leaning in here. Wait a minute. You said less equals more?
Yes. Yeah, yes, and here's what I mean. You do not price your course based on how many modules and lessons, how long it takes someone to get through. You choose your pricing based on the results you are promising. And so here, Rob is promising very specific results that are very important to a photographer, very detailed. So there's a lot they can learn in a very short period of time. So that's the secret to pricing. It's more about the results you're promising and the audience you're working with than how many lessons and modules. That is not even a factor. Such a great question.
That is a really important nuance.
Yeah.
I hope everybody takes notes of, because it's not about, stacking as much as you possibly can. That's not where the value comes from. The value comes from the results and the transformation that people are going to get. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Starter, spotlight. What's the third one?
Signature. This is like the Mac Daddy of courses. And ultimately, a lot of people want to get to this. They might not start here, but this is where the big moneymaker is. This is where you promise a total transformation. And notice I said total transformation, which means big results, which means you're going to charge more. So this is where you're taking someone from point A to Z, like everything they need to know for a specific transformation. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you are an HR expert and you decided to create an entire course on how to land your dream job. From finding the right job that you're looking for, to the resume, to the interview, to the negotiation, to your onboarding inside your job to make sure you climb the corporate ladder. That's a signature course. And so because it promises bigger results, you're going to get to charge more, anywhere from $500 all the way up to $3,000 or more. And so this one is the one that likely puts you on the map. You become known for something. That's another thing about having one course that you launch over and over again. You become known for that. You get asked to speak more. Doors open for you. You get asked to be on the podcast of different people because that you have a course that they know what you're all about and what you can offer. So you've got your starter course, your spotlight course, or your signature course. These are internal terms we use. You don't need to say, hey, everyone, I have a starter course over here. That's not how we use it. We just use it internally to figure out how are we going to design this course and what are we going to charge. But Stu, for the first time ever, I have added one extra course to my program that now I get to teach people. Can I tell you about it real quick? It is called a workshop course. A workshop course is for somebody who comes into my world and they want to create a signature course. They're just not ready. Another course I teach in the whole program, so of course I teach them all, is how to create a 1-hour workshop course where, let's take that woman who teaches you how to find your dream job. She could take one area like how to create an awesome resume and teach it in 1 hour. She's going to charge for it. Let's say she charges $97 for it. She puts it together and she sells it first, then she delivers it live and she records it when she delivers it live. She offers Q&A, maybe a PDF to go along with it. Now she's got this thing that she recorded and can sell every single day from her website as a recorded program. But the reason I teach now a workshop course as a way to dip your toe in the water before you want to go big is because it builds confidence. It helps you come up with your first idea. It leads to many new ideas and it builds your audience while you're doing it. So for all my newbies who are like, I can't even imagine creating a digital course. Oh, yes, you can. You can start with a workshop course. Make your way to your signature course.
I love it. Okay, I actually want to follow up on that, because how do we decide which one of those we pursue, whether it's the starter, spotlight, signature, or workshop? Like if we're like, okay, Amy, I'm in, but which one do I pick?
Such a great question. So first of all, you can't go wrong. That's the greatest thing. There's no wrong answer here, which I love. But what you're going to do is when you take yourself through that sweet spot that we taught earlier, you think about your expertise, the problem you solve, what brings you joy, what people are spending money on. Once you start getting your idea, then you're going to ask yourself, where do I want to start? And how far do I want to go with my first digital course? And one way to answer that question is look at who your audience is or the audience you're building. A lot of people come into my world and your world, Stu, where they're still building their audience. So we both teach them how to do that while they're creating their asset. But you want to think about who are the people I want to serve and who do I have access to? And if you want to go all in because you're excited about a big transformation and you have the knowledge, by all means, that's what you're going to do. But you ask yourself first, what feels right for you? What level of intensity do you want to put into this? And who your audience is and where they think or where you think they want you to start. So there's lots of factors. I go through this with my students, kind of take them through exercises, but that's kind of big picture what you want to think about. Some questions to ask yourself.
What about time commitment? Like when we're talking about creating that, what's the difference in time commitment between the different styles of courses?
I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually another factor I always talk about. If you do not have a big bandwidth right now, if you're a busy mom, you've got a lot going on, you're in a 9 to 5 job, but you really would like to start a course as your side hustle that one day could become your full-time thing and you leave that 9 to 5 job, well, you don't have a lot of bandwidth. So you're going to do a starter or a spotlight. They take a lot less time. A signature is going to be more of a commitment, more time, more focus, more work. And, we're not going to shy away from it if that's what you want. But if you don't have a big bandwidth, I'm going to tell you to do a workshop course, a starter, or a spotlight. Those are very easy to start versus the bigger course.
Got it. That's perfect. I got a funny moment that actually happened today, right before you and I jumped on. We were recording this video, and in the video, there was B-roll clips of the very first version of our signature course that I created. And I was telling our team, because we didn't have a team when we were creating all that. It was just like a few of us. And when I recorded that, no joke, Amy, I literally set the camera up like all myself, and I would go over and I'd press record and I'd come back and then I'd pause, smile, go into whatever I was going to teach. Then when I'd end, I'd still pause for a second. Then I'd go back and press stop. And it was like this whole thing. But that was like the whole first version. And you said something that I think is really important. You were talking about your course and you were saying, hey, listen, I continue to sell the same course, but that doesn't mean that I don't go back and I don't update it or I don't refresh it. And I think that that's important for people to realize is like, this is not like one and done. Like you have to get it absolutely perfect the first time around or it's not worth doing. That's not it at all, because there's always the opportunity to be able to update it, which is one of the big benefits of being in the digital world. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so I just redid my entire course. I re-recorded the entire thing. I love it. It's a great experience because I'm not starting from scratch. I'm not like looking at a blank Google Doc. I've got this great course that got people results, but now I have new ideas. The landscape has changed. I've got new strategies. So now I get to build it in. But also, here's one thing that all of you will do when you create a digital course. You'll get better at teaching it. I pull out so much. Have you ever done that, Stu, that you're like, I don't need to teach it this way. I can get them faster results this way now that I know.
It's not relevant anymore. Yeah, totally.
It's not relevant. Yes. So if you were to get into my program today versus 2019, you'll get results faster. It will be easier. There's more support because I've learned along the way. So that's something to look forward to. And it's way easier than starting from scratch.
Thank you for that. Okay, my world is memberships. And so let's talk briefly about how the course world and the membership world intermingle and how they're actually like this perfect marriage for any type of digital business. Because if you've got a membership, you should have a course. And if you've got a course, you should have a membership. But I'm curious if you could give us insights as to how your course and membership kind of work together.
Okay, well, I do have to give you a shout out, even though I know you don't expect me to, but I learned everything about memberships and how they work with courses from Stu. So let me tell you what I've done. First of all, we always say courses and memberships are like peanut butter and chocolate. They just go together. And I am a great example of this. Stu's a great example of this, but so many of my students are as well. And here it is. I have a course that's called Digital Course Academy, and I teach people how to create and launch a digital course. But after you're done with that course, you will still want to continue the journey. You'll want to make sure that you have the best launch. You'll want to continue to create and launch over and over again. So I offer a membership called Momentum. And it's just $97, but the only way you get into it is if you've actually gone through Digital Course Academy. And the reason I did that, and this is a multi-million-dollar a year membership. So there's still a lot of profit, even though I'm only offering it to those who went through my digital course. But the beauty of this and why I've loved it from day one is I'm not constantly repeating myself. I'm not constantly teaching something over and over again. Everyone is on the same page. Everyone has access to the same training. So I can often say, oh, module 5, lesson 2, you're going to love it. The first 5 minutes, you can remind yourself how to do that. And then any questions you have, come back here. So it's such a great way to go back and forth and make sure that they have exactly what they need. And then I get to see them have launch after launch after launch. I have students who have launched 10 times with me through my membership.
So you see it as the course is teaching people what to do and how to do it and supporting them in that process. And then the membership is like that ongoing support as they continue to implement and grow.
Exactly. And Stu, the reason why it works so well, and I know there's other ways to use courses and memberships, and I think that you might want to talk about it because you can have a membership in front of a course, of course. But the reason why this works so well is at the end of my program, people are like, Amy, don't leave us. You've been with us for 11 weeks. You've been answering all our questions. We don't want you to go anywhere. We have a lot of work still we want to do and create in our business. And that's why I'm like, oh, don't worry. Here I am. I'm not going anywhere. For those that want to continue with me, it's a beautiful progression.
Yeah, and I can see it too, because like I think of some of the examples you mentioned earlier, like Rob, he sells his course for the first time to that tiny list of 100 people, makes $12,000. He's like, OMG, this is amazing. I want more of this. And so now it's really about like, how do you take this like one-time, success and turn it into a growing, thriving business? Well, that's a whole different conversation. And that's certainly where the membership comes into play.
Absolutely. So it works well. But you agree that you could have a membership at the beginning of a course, right?
Totally. Like I think of Lisa Kay in our community. So she has a membership site teaching people how to make better decisions by learning how to trust their intuition. And so it's a membership and she's training people inside that. But one of the things that she discovered is that in conversation with her members, she started to identify, hey, there are some specific areas that people want to go deep, AKA spotlight courses. So she created a bunch of spotlight courses and she has significantly increased her income because now members of the membership who want to go deep in a specific area now have options. And so her average amount that she earns per member increased quite considerably because she had these courses available. And she wouldn't have known which direction to go unless she had her finger on the pulse and engaging with her members. But that's the benefit of how a membership and a course can go together. So you can sell a course on the front end and a back end membership like you have, or like Lisa Kay, have a front end membership and learn what areas the members want to go deep and create many courses around that. I love how the two of them just work so well together.
Same. It's my favorite.
Okay, so Amy, we've been talking lots about courses. We talked about the different types of courses. We talked about like the work that's involved in different courses and how you quickly spotlight courses and starter courses can get created. We talked about pricing and so forth. But I'm curious as we begin thinking about like turning this into a business, where should people go to get started? I know you have a boot camp that's coming up. Can you talk to us about that and what does it entail and what should people do next?
Yes. So once a year and only once a year, I offer a boot camp called Course Confident. And it's really for anybody who's course curious. If this is like the first time you thought, maybe I could do this, but I'm not even sure where to start, the boot camp is for you. Or maybe you've been thinking about a course forever and you want to get started. Or maybe you have a course that you put out in the world and it didn't do so well and you kind of want to understand like, where did I go wrong here? This is the boot camp for you. Inside the bootcamp, I will be training live, everything's recorded, where I'm walking you through the first steps you need to know for a successful digital course. We're actually going to get into choosing your course topic, making sure it's one that will absolutely make you money. We're going to get into pricing your course, and I'm going to go down a little bit deeper than I did today to really help you figure out how much you can make. We're going to do some course math so you can plan ahead in terms of what could this look like in your business. We're going to talk about where a course could fit in an existing business or how it can start a business from scratch or a side hustle. And we're absolutely going to talk about the signature course, the starter course, the spotlight course, like which one is for you and how to make the decision. You're going to make a decision inside of the bootcamp. And then finally, how do you find your audience? Who do you sell to once you're ready to create and launch your course? We're going to talk a lot about finding your ideal audience and what that looks like to grow your email list. So this is everything you need to know and the decisions you need to make to start your digital course off right so you don't waste time, money, or effort. And here's the cool thing. It's one of the cheapest things I offer all year. It's $47. So it's incredibly affordable. I'm live, I'm there, I'm teaching, I'm answering questions, and you have a whole community of people that are doing it with you. So the ideas are endless.
I think about that. If somebody just makes one sale, whether it's a starter, spotlight, or signature course or workshop,
One
sale,
person. And this whole world says yes to you.
Yes, and for many people, it'll be half a person, like half a person would pay for the boot camp. So definitely well worth it. And thank you for sharing that. I encourage everybody to go check it out. We'll have information in the description. Okay, Amy, as we wrap up here, I want to just take a step back for a minute. And I want to just ask you about, why does this matter? Like, you, as we talked about at the beginning, your business has generated over $100 million. Like, why are you not just on a beach sipping a margarita and just calling it a day? Like, why do you keep teaching people about how to create courses?
When I started 15 years ago and wanted to leave my 9-to-5 job, the only reason I started this was that I didn't want to be told what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. My why was very, very selfish. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just wanted something I didn't have. So I thought, if I start my own business and start creating these courses, I could have the freedom to have my own time and money back in the way I want to make money, and also my own creativity. No one's telling me what to do. So 15 years ago, that is why I started creating courses and teaching other people how to create courses. It was a means for me to have more freedom. Fast forward 15 years and $100 million later, over the years that has changed dramatically. I wake up in the morning and I think about that woman or that man in a cubicle doing work that they no longer love, knowing they're made for something different. And I know I have a solution to create the kind of freedom they want. What if the freedom's just, I want to leave at 3:00 to pick my kids up from school, or I want to go to gymnastics practice and literally see my daughter or son do their thing, but I'm always at work. That's freedom. Whatever freedom means to you, I want to support it. So I don't wake up in the morning anymore for me, not because I have a lot of money, but because I figured this out and I want to help other people figure it out. I truly believe if I can do this, you can do this. So it's to help other people create the kind of freedom that means something to them, whatever that means. And that gets me out of bed every morning.
Well, I appreciate you for that. You've taught me so much when it comes to building a profitable course. And the other day, I was asking our kids, I said, what are some of the positives about your parents being entrepreneurs? And I had a moment, like it totally took me back, because without hesitation, the first thing that Marla said, which is our daughter, she said, what I love about you both being entrepreneurs is that you're home with us and we get to see you. And I was just like, oh, because like I think about, there's so many people who are in a job and they don't have control over their schedule. They're up early before the kids are off to school. They get home late and kids are probably like winding down and getting into bed. They don't get to spend that time with them. And those are so precious years. That's my why. And I know that you have helped so many people be able to create that side income or even turn it into a full-time income. I think of the lawyer that you mentioned. I mean, her schedule and days must be night and day different, running in a lawyer's office compared to like what she gets to do now. And
Yeah.
that's why we do this. That's why we do this.
That's so funny that you mentioned her. Literally, I wrote down a quote that she said. She says, I run 2 to 3 programs a year and I schedule programs only when they work best for my family. She said the reason she does what she does, it truly is my ultimate dream as a mom. I live for that stuff. That's the stuff that matters most. And so that's why I love that you get to create a business by your own design when you start to create digital courses in your business. It's my most favorite thing to teach just because of that.
Well, friends, I want to thank you for watching. Amy, thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate you coming and sharing and unpacking so much about the digital course world. And I want to encourage everybody, listen, if you are just curious about this, maybe you don't have the confidence yet. That's the whole point of Amy's Bootcamp. That's why it's called Course Confident, is to help you get there. But go and check it out. We'll have, as I said, the link in the description. If you want to see and hear more interviews like this about people building real world businesses in the digital landscape, let me know in the comments as well. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. We love and appreciate those subscribes. So with that, thank you so much, Amy. Thank you. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Stu. Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.